Hello everyone, this is going to be a much more terse commentary than my normal videos. It seems to be a theme that my commentary is usually at or slightly less than the length of the time it took me to read the chapter itself, but I'm going to try to spitfire chapter 6 because of some time constraints that I have. I really like this story that they tell about first Jemima Wilkinson and second Joseph Smith, both trying to walk on water, both of the events, kind of going in different ways. Joseph Smith gets some little Tom Sawyer punk kids to foil his plan, and this may be a tall tale or whatever, but so is everything in Mormonism at some point. And then Jemima Wilkinson says, "Oh, you know what? You guys don't even need to see this miracle. Your faith was already strong enough." Man, I think even at the height of my spiritual fervency, if that's a word, I don't think I would have bought that. You come to the shore to see someone walk on water and they go, "Oh, the real walking on water was the friends we made along the way." So I'm not buying that. I think one of the most profound things in the entire book so far that we've read that Fawn Brody says is that, "Behold," said Lehi in the Book of Mormon, "I have dreamed a dream," or in other words, "I have seen a vision. And for Joseph, what was a dream one day could become a vision the next, and a reality the day after that." I love that. I'm going to get that tattooed or something. That is like the thesis statement of the origin of Mormonism, is that early Mormons did not distinguish between the types of consciousness that we take for granted today. A vision can be a dream. You can have a dream like Joseph Smith's father and say, "I am the recipient of a vision of the tree of life," which then gets retrofitted into the Book of Mormon as Lehi's vision, which was a dream originally. And so maybe everything in Mormonism is true. It's just stuff people are taking into their dreams. Now, I don't remember my dreams more than 10 minutes after I've woken up, but these people really believed. And I think this idea of the placebo effect that we'll talk about later is a really important theme. Again, we're starting to hear stories kind of on both sides. The tension is ramping up. There are more and more people that fervently believe Joseph is a true prophet than ever, and there are dozens and hundreds of people, especially in Palmyra, that are becoming more vicious. And so I think it's really manipulative that Joseph does this experience with the candle and his face is shining so bright. And "Do you know who you've seen tonight? You've seen Jesus." I feel like that would make for a really good movie scene. It's very clear. In fact, I would love to see a movie about Joseph Smith becoming the prophet of the Mormon Church by Taika Waititi, like Jojo Rabbit, something in that sort of humor and screenplay. That would be awesome. So I mentioned the placebo effect, and the reason I talk about this is Newel Knight. So he's the one that has this seizure. He's overcome with his sins. He's wailing and thrashing on the floor, and then Joseph comes and goes, "Oh crap!" Everyone's kind of looking at Joseph. "Hey, you're the prophet. You're the one that's supposed to cast this demon out." And then as soon as he does so, Newel Knight says, "Oh, hey, I'm all better again." If you can go on YouTube and look up videos of exorcisms, you can also go up and look up videos of holy rollers, Pentecostal believers that are rolling on the floor, crying, speaking in tongues, begging God to free the demons from their soul. So this is a very real phenomenon. It does occur. I haven't studied the psychology of what causes people to behave this way, but what is clear is that Joseph Smith kind of has a couple of these dingers. He has these really good experiences that are seen in public, that affirm to people this confirmation that, hey, there's something special about this guy, to the point where people are willing to sell their farms or just leave them behind to go follow wherever Joseph goes. The church is founded on April 6, 1830, and we're coming up on 200 years. 2020 we celebrated, marked the 200th anniversary of the supposed revelation to Joseph Smith of the first vision, and then in our lifetimes, most of us listening here will be here for 2030, which will be the 200th anniversary of the founding of the church. I wonder what they would say if the prophets of the 19th century and 20th century could be here for that event. What would they say? What would they say if they knew that BYU was teaching evolution to its students? What would they say when we learned that there are not, in fact, people living on the sun? Quite the opposite. And there are not colonies of people that live on the moon. And there are, first of all, we've been to the moon. Which prophet was it? Joseph F. Smith that said that it's inconceivable that man would ever get to the moon. And then they did it. Yeah. So what would they say? I think that's interesting to think about if they could see it right here. Okay, one of the things I think it's really important to share, if you're listening to this and you are someone who has a lot of antagonism towards the Mormon church, you feel like you've been wronged by them, or you feel like you're frustrated by the pattern of behavior they've shown over the decades, that's fine. But we see very clearly we can take this as a cautionary tale that forming mobs and trying to tar and feather people is only going to backfire. The early antagonism towards Joseph Smith from these people that were trying to tar and feather him and get warrants for his arrest and get rid of him obviously made the church so much stronger. If there's someone you think is a bully, like my mom said, if my older siblings were giving me a hard time, she'd just say, hey, stop, you're giving them the attention that they want. So you got to stop doing that. And I think that's a good message that we can learn from these early antagonists. It's okay to disagree with the ideas. It's not okay to harass and incite violence against people. That is not appropriate. I feel terrible for Emma Smith. God himself, through Joseph Smith, says to Emma, except that you, basically, I'm paraphrasing, do everything that Joseph Smith asks, where I am, you cannot come. We talked in the last chapter that is manipulation. What a terrible example. Using your prophetic status as a voice of God to tell your own wife to basically shut the F up and go along with it and don't complain. That's really sad. I think it's interesting that Joseph Smith says, I don't need my stone anymore. And this is what the apologists say, is that at this point Joseph Smith had become so strong in his prophetic role that God had trained him through all these visitations from Moroni. He's got some training and he's got some strength. Oh, he doesn't need the seer stone. He doesn't need the necromancy anymore. I think that's really interesting. That's very convenient. I think one thing in Joseph Smith's credit is that Mormons believe, or at least I was taught as a Mormon growing up, that faith is action. If you say you believe in God, but you're not willing to act on that belief, you don't have faith. And I think it's fair to say that the Mormons at that time, even though it seems abundantly clear that they were victims of the manipulation of the prophet Joseph Smith, very clearly they were willing to act. They were willing to sell their property. They were willing to sacrifice a great deal, move 300 miles, which was a great ordeal back in that time, to go to Kirtland. I would like to talk more about this idea of the city of Enoch. Maybe I'll spend some time in the next commentary getting into that, because there's some things I want to say about this city taken up into the sky. And I also think it's interesting that Sidney Rigdon kind of has this influence over Joseph Smith, and it's reciprocated by Joseph Smith doing everything he can to kind of woo Sidney Rigdon and give him the red carpet treatment. But that's all the time I have. Let me know if you like this more short, rapid style, or if you like when I am able to get a little bit more detail out of everything. I think there are pros and cons to both, and I definitely know that throughout my life I have had a propensity to ramble. So I think I would love some feedback from anyone listening to this. Again, I'm doing this completely for free. It's a fun hobby. It's a fun project. I've always enjoyed reading and acting and doing the little voices. Some are good, some are really bad, but I have fun nonetheless, and I hope you do too. So that's all for today, and stick around for Chapter 7.